Let me introduce myself. I'm Steve Blanks. I have the lay, so I am come from a long way away. I've come from Washington, D.C. I guess I'm a subject matter expert. I never think of myself that way. I think of myself as somebody who's worked in the field for over 20 years and learned a couple of things along the way. And hopefully today, this morning and this afternoon with the practitioners group, we'll share a few things that I know, and hopefully there's one or two or three nuggets you take away, right? So whenever you come to these meetings, you get so much information, right? You just get overloaded. Your brain is like exploding. So focus on, this is advice, focus on a couple of things you can take away that are actionable, or real, and valuable. Because otherwise, if you try to hear it all, it's just too much. Just try to take away something that says, that's exactly what I wanted to do. So Steve Blanks, I've been in the field for about 20 years. My brother has a developmental disability. He lives in Kansas City, Missouri. So I've been in this field my whole life, but more as a professional the last 20 years. And my realm of interest has always been around kind of the employer's side of things. I had a business consulting background before I came to this field. And so I kind of always thought businessy, which sometimes you think that doesn't jive with what we're doing. But if you think about employment, there's a supply and a demand, right? So you supply skills as a job seeker, and hopefully then there's a demand from the businesses for the skills that you have. And that's where the magic happens. That's the secret sauce when that comes together. And customized employment is about that matching. So I often come from an employer perspective and thinking from that, and you'll hear more about that this afternoon. And Tricia, and I'll let her introduce herself, comes from really the true customized employment and getting to know you, which we're going to do this morning. So Tricia, take it away.
Thank you, Steve. So I'm Tricia, and like Karen mentioned this morning, I am from Utah. I've lived my whole life there. I also have a family member with a disability, an aunt, and I think that kind of is where the grounding in my work started. I started out providing services, so direct support, and worked with people in their homes. I worked with two women that didn't do well in group settings. And so they were just kind of at home all day. And I was like, well, we need to work. We need to do things. That's what people do. And I didn't know the funding streams or how things worked. And so we just kind of went out and got a job, and I got in trouble because I didn't know about voc rehab or supported employment or anything. It was just like, well, they're home and bored. We needed to get a job. And anyway, so that's pretty much like sums up my life, that I do things and then beg for forgiveness later. Then I, anyway, kind of ended up at the working for the state, got connected with Griffin Hammis.
Are you Mormon?
I was. I am not now, but thank you for being brave enough to ask.
Yes. Do more of that, please.
Yes,
do more
seriously.
of that.
But everybody expects it if you're from Utah, and most people are, so it's a fair question. Culturally, yes, it's just a thing. So anyway, so flash forward almost 30 years. I now really focus on customized employment training. I helped craft our employment first language in our state. And as I figured out how to implement it, I was like, we cannot really make employment first happen if we don't think about what that means for everyone that we support, everyone that's in services. If all means all, what are the tools that we use? And customized employment was that answer for me. So really digging in, doing lots of projects, working with families and students, and so applied for grants that really focused on getting customized employment into our schools and working with educators. So I feel like I've made a lot of efforts in different places in people's lives around discovery and customized employment, made a lot of mistakes, and been able to try to implement that or put that into practice in the training and technical assistance that I provide now. So the work that we're going to do today, I do a lot of group discovery with people, but we do it over the course of weeks. And so pulling out the really key information today, and Steve and I had lots of conversations about what are the most important things. So you are our practice with this, and pulling out what we normally do in big workshops to a couple of hours. So thank you for being willing to, in advance, I guess, because you didn't get a choice to, you didn't know what you were doing, what you were signing up for. But we really hope this will be meaningful. And so thank you in advance for going on this journey with us and being willing to just kind of have a different conversation about what employment might look like and asking some different questions about how to get there. So I'm excited.
Yeah. So again, we're going to start by kind of getting to know, you've heard about us, but we kind of want to know about you guys, right? So we got a couple of questions, and there's various ways you can answer this question. If you like to stand up, that's great. If you're able to, you can put your hand up, and we want to keep your hands up. But our first question is, have you ever had a job before? I've got a hand up over here, hand up over here, hand. Keep those hands up. Okay, keep those hands up. Great.
If you need us to ask the question differently, let us know that too, please. Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be a job you still have right now. I have had many jobs, and my first job is not my last job. So even if you don't have a job right now, that's okay. You've had a job, right? Okay. So the second question, well, it's not coming up. If you volunteered, so keep your hands up, those who had jobs. If you volunteered somewhere, right? Might be at the Humane Society, it might be at your church, it might be with a civic group or a service group.
A work experience.
Work experience.
Anything.
Keep your hands up. Keep your hands up. Okay. So next, anyone done any chores at home? Anyone like unloaded the dishwasher, mowed the lawn? Anyone kind of cleaned their room maybe, made their bed? Keep those hands up. Keep those hands. There's some people who haven't put their hands up. You don't make your bed. All right, come on, put your hands up there. There you go. And I think that may be, our last question here. Do you know somebody who's had a job, who's volunteered, who cleans their room, who makes their bed, right? So volunteering at the library. I really appreciate you saying that. Yes, there's many places you can volunteer. So if everyone gets their hands up that's kind of answered yes to any of those questions, look around the room. Look around the room. You've all experienced work, right? You may not have always got paid for it. You may not have always liked doing it, cleaning my room. Don't like doing that, right? Making my bed. I don't like doing that. But you've all experienced work. So, congratulations. You're already on your way, right? This is the first part of kind of understanding what it means. Work is this big spread of things, right? The first job I had was a janitor at an airport. They made the food for the planes in Kansas City. That was my first job, right? I'm not still doing that. I've had multiple jobs. I've done different jobs. I've volunteered. I've done different things too that have made me who I am. And it's important that you take those experiences as we move into defining customized employment. So you're all ready to dive in, hopefully, yes? All right, so we're going to try and get this energy up in this room, right? Because it's a beautiful day and we're going to enjoy it, okay? Excellent. All right, Tricia.
Okay. So yeah, that's the biggest rule, is that nobody can fail discovery. And we're using the principles of discovery today to think about what works like, what work can look like. And that can, if you currently have a job, if you've had a job in the past, if you're thinking about trying something new, if you maybe want to just work more hours, if you just are exploring whatever, I'm glad you're here today, because that's really what we want this conversation to be about, and for you just to think differently. So just to kind of give you some background, and I'm so glad that we have supporters, for job seekers in the room. So if we can take a minute and just kind of know, if you're not directly looking for a job and you're a supporter, what is your role? Like who in the room is supporting people? What are you? Are we counselors? Are we employment professionals? I didn't ask, I guess I should have been specific. If you're a VR counselor, raise your hand. Any VR counselors? If you're a case manager or a support coordinator. What's that?
Center for Independent Living.
Okay, perfect.
That's great.
So Center for Independent Living. What's your role?
I'm a transition coordinator at the Hawaii School for the Deaf and Blind.
Perfect. Wonderful. So glad you're here.
Two at the front here. Your role?
Staff at a clubhouse in Conneaut.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody knows what a clubhouse
I was,
I
I was
do.
so it's like, I should know what that is. I have no idea what that is.
It's a psychosocial rehabilitation facility, and there are 5 on the island. There's over 300 in the world.
Got
So
it.
they
I do.
exist.
Interesting.
I'm a mother.
And I also have my assistant with me today. She is a job coach.
Okay.
So,
Thank you.
Wonderful.
hello, everybody.
And we have a mum. Any other family members? Mum? Great.
Wonderful. This is great. This is just a beautiful group. So we want to just talk about how this process is a little bit different. Oftentimes, when we think about jobs, or if we think about somebody who needs support getting a job, we think, oh, there's an employment specialist, there's a professional, we're just going to hand that off to that person. You're going to let me know when they have a job and when I need to have them ready to walk out the door, right? This process is very different, and we're going to talk about that today. We're going to think about relationships. We're going to think about who you are when you're with people and what kinds of things you do, just as an example. So again, we're drawing on the strength of your community and your relationships. And I've not spent a lot of time in Hawaii, but one of the things that I have felt just in the little time that I've been here is this feeling of community and family and just the strength of relationships. It is palpable. And so I just am excited to see what that looks like in action in the bit of work that we do. And I know Steve's excited about that too. So very much a team approach. The other thing that we're going to do today, and I really want you to think about this, even though we're talking about jobs, is we're not jumping to the job. So I want you to resist saying bagging groceries or, getting carts or, the specific jobs that we think about. We want to think about, I really enjoy doing these kinds of things. Where might that be happening? Or just more global kinds of activities or tasks, not specifically a job or the grocery store. Can you do that for me? And everybody, I want you to be help everybody accountable. Nope, we're not jumping to the job. So just keep that in mind. We're not jumping to the job right away. The other thing is we usually do some visual representation to kind of share what we're up to or share some of those talents. And that's going to be what Jennifer does with us a little bit later. So some of the things that we collect or that we write down or we kind of figure out, Jennifer's going to work with us to create that visual representation or kind of get a start on that, right? So say you're really good at taking care of your family dog. You might want to go home and get some video of that, right? If it's bathing the dog or walking and or maybe you walk several dogs, right? Having a visual of that is different than just putting that on paper, right? So those are just some examples of ways that you might share something visually instead of a regular resume. Let's see. The other thing that we think about is, like Steve talked about, is how we look at what makes sense for you and the business. So we really start thinking about who is this person, where are they at their best, and where does it make sense in the community, or what businesses will value that. So we're looking at both sides. Does that make sense that it's a little different than just who's hiring? And we're not worried about what makes sense for you. You just have to let go of all the things that are important to you that don't work for you just to fit in. Because that's usually how things don't work well, right? When people get fired or it doesn't last. So we're trying to avoid some of those things with this process. I know I'm kind of giving a lot of philosophical things.
Tricia, I'm going to ask you a
go.
question. So we're going to play off each other here a little bit. I know sometimes people say, "What's your dream job?"
Yeah.
What's the issue with saying that? Because it's like saying, "Oh, what's your dream job?" Because I'll tell you what my dream job was. Anyone ever heard of National Geographic? Yes. Yeah, you kind of magazines, these beautiful pictures. I mean, I'm so excited to be here in Hawaii to take pictures of these beautiful landscapes, right? I wanted to be I should say that's my dream job, National Geographic photographer. How cool would that be, right? Yeah. I ain't a National Geographic photographer, right? That is not my job today. I've done many things, and I may still aspire to that, but I've had to work because I needed money, right, to pay the bills. I may still get to become a National Geographic photographer, but I'm not one right now. right? So the dream job is great. It may drive you, it may inform you, but you can't live straight for that dream job. So it's a bit of a trap.
I just wanted to let you know, you have the look
Look of what?
for the photographer.
Oh, wow, okay. No one's ever told me that. All right, so.
We're gonna lose him now.
So I've got the look, so I just need the camera, the skills, the ability. There's a lot of things I'm missing. I've got the look, I'm like, okay, that's great. Okay.
How many people have had someone ask them, what's your dream job? It's really common. And yeah, go ahead.
So I've always wanted my own business and to be able to do that. And I have that. I have an actual business. I have achieved this through hard work, time and dedication. Just for me to do what I do, just for me to make a difference, so that other artists can actually see that yes, they can do it.
What's your name, sir?
I'm Joshua.
Joshua.
I am the Hawaiian Artist Jewelry and Gifts.
Say that again. Hawaiian
Artists Jewelry and Gifts.
Jewelry and Gifts.
That is my website. I have some cards for you guys today, and I have a tiny bit of jewelry for you guys today.
Beautiful. So, Josh, you are going to be one of our champions during this session, right? So as we talk about some of the work, you've clearly done some of this great work. So I want you to share some of the stories and things as well as we get through this, if there's things that make sense to you. And that goes for everybody. You know, whether you've had some successes like Josh, or even some things that maybe didn't work. We learn from each other. You kept hearing this morning, communities of practice. This is a community of practice, right? You all helping each other, you looking out for each other. You know, we're going to talk a little bit later about networking and marketing. This guy already is marketing 101. We can learn from each other, right? So let's use that. That power is great.
I volunteer at an animal sanctuary.
Are you volunteering right now? Okay, that's great. And you're learning stuff every day. That's
Not
fantastic.
every day, only one day.
The day that you're there. I love that. That's great.
Yeah.
Please keep sharing as we go along. So the one thing that, when Trisha and I were talking about this, you know, you can get into customized employment and start learning. You just do this discovery about yourself, your interests, your skills, and we're going to get to that. But I thought what was probably the most important thing is you don't want to do this alone. Joshua, did you get help along your journey?
Oh, of course.
Of course, right.
Yes.
And so you get help to get a job, right? My first job I got because somebody told me about it, right? There was a network of people to help me. So as Tricia mentioned, this idea of family, right? So there's a term I think here called ohana. Is that right? What does ohana mean?
Family.
Family, right? And if I'm not mistaken, it means not just your blood family, right? It is the wider community of people who are around you. Is that right?
Yes.
Because you got to tell me if I'm wrong.
So I'm hoping that you'd be able to, you know, have a different explanation for this, being able to help make the connections and not just having a dependency on someone, you know, having them have their own connections. So like, oh, will you do this for me while I just sit here and let you do this and wait? No. So we want to make that clear. If you could please make that clear that this is different, that you have to be involved and we're expecting you to do it and yourself and not have somebody else do it for you.
Really good point. Really good point. One of the things you keep hearing is someone's going to get you a job, right? Hold on 1 second. I know there's a question over here. I can get you a job probably. I can't get you to keep the job. I can't get you to do the job. I can't get you to show up at the job, and I can't get you to excel at the job. That's all you, right? So as a job seeker, that's why this customized employment is so important, because it has to be your job, your interest, your skills, your abilities, your passion to wake up and maybe do a jewelry business or whatever it may be. It has to be yours. But I will say, it does take a village. It does take support. It does take help. It does take a network of people. And that's where we want to start first. But you said there was a question, I think, here.
Name. Okay.
Do you mind saying your name first, sir?
Yes, sir. Hi, my name is Roy.
Lawrence?
Roy.
Roy, my bad, sorry.
I am from the Big Island of Wildlife. And then for me, I like to open up my own business as a car dealership. Yeah, I like to rent out cars, vans, trucks, ships, SUVs for people with disabilities. Because I went down everything like I
Wow.
like to see in my dream.
Can I see it?
Yeah.
So Roy, did I get that name? Roy?
Yeah. Yeah.
Your desires to have your own business,
Yeah.
I think, is it selling or just renting vehicles?
Renting vehicles out.
Renting vehicles out to people with disabilities.
Yeah.
And it could be a truck, it could be a car, it could be a limo.
Yeah, a van, a big van, a bus.
I love it. I love it.
In my business.
Can I take pictures of this?
Yes.
Okay.
Please do.
Okay.
So, Roy, hopefully through some of these exercises we have, we can start building some details around that, right?
Yeah, right.
Excellent.
where you want
Thank
me
you,
to
Roy.
Yeah.
So, first up, we're going to talk about relationships. And to your point, these aren't relationships that you necessarily fully depend on, but these are relationships that are going to be important to you in your journey to employment. These are relationships that may be able to help you. These are relationships that are going to help you know who you are. Because again, this is about you, your skills, your abilities, your interests, your what we're going to call ideal conditions for employment. So you need people around you who can help you, right? Help you know who you are, help you ask your questions, maybe help make an introduction to a business, maybe help make an introduction to a dealership to learn more about what they have. So we have got some paperwork here we're going to share out, because again, this isn't just listening to us talk. This is about doing some work, okay? I'm going to share these out.
Can I need to do a disclosure for a second here.
Go for it.
So I talked a little bit about how when we do this process, we do it over a series of weeks. And so I pulled out pieces of the guidebook or the kind of the worksheet. So it doesn't look pretty, but that's okay. Because it's literally a worksheet, and then we're gonna put something together for you digitally and send it back to you. So at the end of these couple hours, if I can just make sure and get an email to be able to send
Thank you.
like a digital version of this back to you so that you can have something to then use and work from in the future, that's the intent. We just didn't know who was going to be in the room, so this is very rough, and then we'll send you something that you can use in the future, if that makes sense. Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you. Thank you for being like
So
much
just
more
to
smart
orient
than I
you,
am
at the
this.
top, we're going to start on the page that says relationships. You see that on the top page, it says relationships? Everyone have that? And as Tricia said, on the back, it says
Did I get all the pieces of your business?
group,
Okay.
guided group discovery worksheet name. If you're okay with putting your name on there, and as Tricia said, if you would like to, you can put your email contact on there, and we will fill this out digitally and send it back out to everyone. Just because this can start as a seed, right? This can start as a starting point for you. Okay.
We need more.
So the back of this sheet that says relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And
So
then-
it starts with the front in relationships, and then it goes to the back,
Okay,
and then it goes here. Again, very rough, but yeah, it's just like that.
okay. And then what do we put on the?
If you'll put your email on the top of
Name and email.
Yeah, that will be great. And then we will send you the visual, like the digital version of it.
So we're starting with the relationship section. So here's again, who are people in your Ohana who are important to you, right? Could be a mom, could be dad. Julie and Derek, right? They talked about how important family is for them. Who are the people who are going to help you know who you are, who are going to help you think about your interests and skills? Was there a question in the back? Are you okay?
We can share.
Oh,
We can make some copies. Patrick, can we get some more copies?
Just give me whatever I need to copy.
okay. I just want to make
Thank
sure.
you, Patrick.
Are you
So
sure?
start thinking about those people. It might be mom and dad. It might be your sister or brother. It might be a neighbor.
Sure, you're good.
Who is a neighbor?
You can talk here. Thank you.
No, the name of the relationship. So, yes, there's at the top, just put your name on the top with the contact information, because we'll keep these all together. Yeah, on the back. It's on the back, right?
All of the above.
Access to a stapler. A stapler.
So as you see in
That
that
might be a
relationships
relationship
table, it says name. Start writing down the names of those important people who know you and who can be your support through this process. This is a really hard process. Josh, was this a really hard process?
Not really.
It was super easy, right? But you said you had people to help you, right? And so thinking about who those people are is really important. Again, could be a family member, but it also could be somebody it could be a teacher, right? It could be a teacher. It could be somebody that you kind of had in school, or maybe you're still in school, who's kind of inspired you. Oh, thank you. Somebody you looked up to, somebody who kind of gave you a sense of who you are. Because again, you need people in your life who are going to push you a little bit, but also help you understand who you are. So we'll just give this a couple of minutes. Again, the goal of this morning is just to kind of get into the flow of some of the important tools, the important parts of customized employment, just to start you thinking about this journey. This would typically take, Tricia, 2 weeks.
Right. We usually give people at least a week to kind of figure out who's important to them, what kind of things they do, what are they the most proud of when they do with this person, what kind of activities they do together, what advice do they give them? Yeah. So just kind of think about who those people are in your life.
Yeah. So just to give you a little example, for me, I have a wife. So Miriam is my wife. She's very important to me, and she keeps me honest, right? So if I'm acting a little bit kooky, she keeps me straight. And so she's very important to me. And if I made a career change or looked for another thing, she'd be very important to me. I have 2 kids. I have 2 kids who are in college. They know me really well, right? They know my good and my bad, right? And sometimes my ugly. And so they also know a lot about me. My daughter especially, she went through a couple of medical crises, and she and I got very, very close about that. And she knows that that side of me in a different way than some other people. She would be part of my Ohana for sure. Karen Lee, who you heard this morning, is my boss, right? So I've worked with her for almost 25 years. I don't think she wants me talking about career change just yet, but well, maybe she does, I don't know. But she's very important to me. She knows a lot about my skills, my strengths, my weaknesses, right? She knows all of that. And so she would be somebody I would lean on, right? So if you had a boss or a former boss, maybe somebody at the sanctuary knows about you, right? Knows about your good and bad, maybe, right? It's okay. We kind of need to know about both of those things.
Does anybody need help with writing? Like you're really good at thinking about it, but you need help kind of writing it down?
Please.
Yes? Okay. Happy to do that.
Well,
And sometimes, I don't know, some of you may have seen what's called a relationship map.
One person.
It almost looks like a target. And those people closest to you are in the middle and then further out. So if you're working maybe with like a transition teacher or a community provider, a job coach, they may be not really core in your Ohana, but they're part of the support team. They're part of helping you think about it and explore ideas.
Hey, guess what? This happened. That's awesome.
Is this making sense? I'm seeing some faces are like, yeah. Some faces are like, not sure.
Having your own business. It's a lot of money.
If people are okay with it, are people okay sharing maybe some of the people on their Ohana?
Clubhouse. Member Jace, she's like primary staff.
From the clubhouse, a staff member? That's great. I love that. Thank you. Jared, do you have people in your Ohana help you?
Similar to yours, I would lean on my spouse first as well. I also listed down 2 good friends that I have for childhood days.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, that would know me.
Yeah.
Maybe not so much the ugly part, but, you know, the good and the bad.
Yeah.
For sure.
Good. That's great. Anyone on this side of the room? Yeah. Your best friend? That's great. And would they be able to help you think about options and ideas and what you're good at? That's great. Yeah, friends are really good at sort of, again, knowing who you are and what motivates you and what drives you forward, right? Anyone put down, this is sometimes that comes up, anyone put down like a neighbor? No? There's no one who has somebody who they spend a lot of time with, maybe because they have an interest that maybe your family doesn't. Maybe it's a neighbor who works on cars or a neighbor who has a wood shop. So again, thinking of me and some of my interests, yes, I want to be a National Geographic photographer, but I also want to make stuff. I want to work with my hands and make stuff. So I learned last year, I learned how to weld. Does everybody know what welding means? Welding is the coolest thing ever. You get to melt metal. You work with excessively high temperature stuff and you melt metal. Sometimes it actually comes together and becomes one piece. Sometimes it doesn't. But I found it so rewarding because a lot of what I do is these kind of sessions and working with people using my brain. I don't work with my hands. And so it's something that I clearly want to do as an interest is work my hands. So I know somebody who's an artist, and now I would say he's potentially in my Ohana if that would be a direction that I wanted to do, is maybe make tables, make furniture, make different things with metal. So again, different people come in and out of your lives that can show you different directions. And so it's really important to keep those relationships alive, right? Keep those relationships together as much as possible. Anybody else want to, as we kind of close out this work, share some members of their Ohana?
Can I just share the conversation that we've been having?
Absolutely, go for it.
So we're having a conversation about something that he's kind of needing. We're mining his relationships a little bit. And right, the work that he does is historical and like hand done. His mother happens to be an anthropologist, right? And his aunt taught him how to do this work.
Wow.
So we're thinking, and he's needing someone to help him kind of upload images and things to his website for marketing.
Wow.
And when we were talking about who might help him do those things, he mentioned his mom. And then we talked about, well, I wonder if his mom has a student or somebody who also has those interests who could all, like, it made like expanding beyond just his mom.
Yeah,
So thinking about his mom's relationship
yeah,
and building on that,
yep,
right?
yep, yep. It could be someone in this room, right?
You know, because to me, all of us need help in some type of way.
Yeah.
All of us, no matter who we are, need guidance, need that person that is truly and honestly patient with us.
Yep.
So that we can connect without leading to
Right. So Josh, my wife runs her own business. It's a jewelry business. It's probably not as cool as yours, but don't tell her I said that. She doesn't know how to add up well, right? And she'll tell you that, so I'm not sharing anything that she wouldn't say. Well, how do you run a business if you can't add up, like how much things are and how much you sold? Well, you hire an accountant, right? You have somebody who can help you with that, who is specialized and skilled, right? You don't need, as a business person, to know everything. You get help. There's an ohana around your business, right? And that's really important. Yeah, I bet.
People are beautiful. Just the way they
Does
are.
anyone else need a pen? We don't want people sharing. We have a couple extra.
We have some more here.
Any questions?
But Joshua, your point is really important, right? Fundamentally, it starts with this ohana of people who help you. To the gentleman's point over here, they don't do it for you. It's got to be you. It's got to be your experience, your skills, your interests, right? But there's people who help you move along. There's people who open doors for you. There's people that you connect with. And just getting that list of people together and telling them, right? Because the other interesting thing is we have this ohana and we have this family, but if we don't tell them we're looking for a job, or we don't tell them we're exploring working with animals, or if we don't tell them we've got a jewelry business, how much help can they be? They can't be any help, right? So it's not only having this group of people, but it's committing them to your journey, committing them to what you're doing, and sharing some challenges or barriers, sharing the good things that are going on. So they are invited into your process. If you don't invite them in, they can't help you, right?
I'm grateful. I'm grateful. Each person,
Yeah.
each individual that has brought their understanding, brought their true love and guidance.
But I'll tell you, Josh, I think many people are willing and able and want to help, but we've not asked them, right? We've not asked them. So one of the other things about this relationship, this ohana, is you've got to invite them into the process. You've got to ask them, because you don't know how they can help you. And they don't know how they can help you, right? So you've got to invite them into this process. So it's important to kind of get this list down, get them on your side, invite them into your process and move along. Any questions around this? Does this make sense as an important first step? Yeah? And again, you've only got a little bit of piece of paper in front of you with a small amount of space. This can be really long. This can be a lot of people. A lot of times we forget people in our past because we've moved on. We've left school and we forgot about a teacher who was important. Or we moved neighborhood and we left that neighbor who was really important. Keep them in your ohana because you never know how they may help you. Okay? And you might have moved, what is it, a service club? Is that? Clubhouse, my bad, I'm sorry. It might move from a clubhouse to another clubhouse, but there's still important people maybe at a former location, right? So it's also important. There you go, right, perfect. All right. Tricia, you ready for? And again, unfortunately, we're trying to compact this into a short period of time. We would love to spend a lot more time on that, but we're going to just give you, again, a little teaser taste of each of these exercises to hopefully build a better picture.
Right. And then, right, as we compile this and send it back to you, you can keep adding it. You can keep building on it. Get with your circle of support and say, hey, help me keep working on this if you want to. So contributions. This is, it's a big word, but we framed it this way for a reason. I meet a lot of people who say, oh, this person can't work. They don't do anything. They just sit around all day. I can't get them to do anything. It's baloney, right? We all have contributions that we make, whether it's needing technology or ways to access or ways to communicate what that contribution might be. That's a whole other story. But recognizing that we all have contributions and what do we need to be able to really make those? When are we at our best? So think about this is the time for you to think about, when am I at my best? Am I the worst in the morning? Like, do I have a really hard time getting going? Or am I really sharp in the morning and I shouldn't be doing really technical things in the afternoon? That's just one kind of thing to think about. What are some of the things that you're the most proud of? And, are you a person that just even has a really good memory? Are you the person in your family that everybody goes to, when is so-and-so's birthday, or when is their anniversary? Or when did we last get together, and you can recall the date and who was there and what salad they brought? People don't necessarily recognize that a contribution or a skill, but it absolutely is. There are places where that is valued. So thinking about what that might look like, and that's what we call an exploitable skill. We don't love to use the word exploit, right? It's not used.
No, you can't use that. Yeah.
But when you think about a skill that you have that is nuanced or something that makes you unique, that's what we want to think about right now. Yeah.
I was just gonna comment to what you said about the calendar and whatnot. For my family, I'm known as the calendar.
I love it.
Because I can give you dates of people's birthdays, anniversaries, and just anything that they need to know. And they're like, oh, what's this day? And I will easily be able to tell them, oh, this is the day.
That's great.
That's a running joke in my family.
It's a beautiful thing, but where else will that be valued? Think about, hello, I can barely figure out what day it is most of the time, or where I'm supposed to be. So that would be a skill I would highly value in somebody who supported me, or in a role. I look for people who will bring strength to the gazillion weaknesses that I have. I'm really smart, but highly unorganized. Steve will attest. Working with me is a bit of a nightmare. So think about those things. If somebody is really good about remembering, I worked with a young man in South Dakota who and everybody said it was annoying and it was kind of his OCD tendencies, that he could time when the dryer was going to go off, and he could not stand for the laundry to be in the dryer for 1 second. It didn't matter whose batch it was, it needed to come out. Dishes needed to be cleared off the table immediately. And times he would, we had to help him not clear people's plates before they were ready. So things like that, where you're just anticipating and needing things to be orderly, turning some of that around. So let's take a minute and think about what some of your contributions might be. What do you prefer to spend your time doing? Do you like things quiet? Do you like to have music on? And the reason we're asking is because this is what we get to when we're talking about ideal conditions of employment. Because oftentimes people will get the tasks right, but they don't get the environment or the culture right. And this is helping us not jump to the job, right? Because we're thinking about some of those things that are really, really important. Okay, go. So this is the skills, the exploitable skills part.
So after the relationships, you got exploitable skills, and just to help you out, on the back 2 pages are some kind of prompt questions that to think about. What kind of work pace do you prefer, right? Do you like it busy? Like, I have to work in a busy place because otherwise I'd be like snoozing, right? My eyes are closed, I'd be like falling asleep. And is it good to be at a job and falling asleep? Probably not, right? Not so many people get to keep the job if they fall asleep, right? And so if that's what you need to stay active, to stay engaged, you need fast pace. Okay, fast pace. But if you prefer maybe a slower paced, because then you can take your time, you're maybe more detail oriented, maybe more focused on the task, then that's an important thing. So thinking about the pace of the work, the nature of the work. In here it talks about kind of the work environment. So this building, I love this building. I love its light. I love that these tall ceilings. It's got kind of this, somebody said that they'd forgotten to paint this wall. I was like, I love that, right? But somebody else might look at him like, they forgot to paint that wall, right? And that's missing, it's wrong. And so this environment works for me, but maybe for you, this is a bit too, wait a minute, that doesn't match. This is a wrong color. It may not work for you. So you need to think about the environment, the work, the nature of the work, the people you're going to work with, right? Do you want to work on your own? Do you need to work in a dark room? Anyone here a coder? Does coding, anything like that? Nope, that's okay. Sometimes people who are those, I'm going to use the terrible word, nerds, who like coding, right? They're big into coding and computers. They don't need a lot of people around them. Just give me the task, give me the work, and I'm going to get it done. They prefer not to be around other people. They're going to have their headphones on and just head down, right? They don't want to work around a lot of people because they're going to get distracted and that code may be wrong. So they need one type of environment, right? Whereas me, I need to be around people. I need to touch people, feel people, interact with people, hear from people. People tell me you're doing something wrong. I need that back and forth. So I need to be around a team of people. Where I work, it's an office. There's about 50 to 60 people in that office every single day. I need that. I need that energy. I couldn't go to a place and just sit at my desk and just do. I couldn't do it. That wouldn't be. Anyone here could do that? Yeah? Work on your own? And you prefer that? Yeah, okay, that's good. Because that's the key, is knowing what you prefer. I didn't get your name, I'm sorry. Yeah.
JD.
JD? How about for you? Do you prefer working around people? I mean, I know animals are important, right?
One-on-one.
Just one-to-one, yeah. Yeah, a lot of people prefer that. They don't want to be alone, but they don't want lots of people, right? Because that can be a bit overwhelming at times. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. A lot of sense.
She's a very likable person, so people like being around her.
Yeah, yeah. But you're going to be your best person if it's one-to-one. If there's one and there's many, you're going to not necessarily be as up your best, right? I love it. I love it. That's great. Anyone else want to share? Sorry. I'm sorry?
Can you give more examples of doing skills?
Hands-on skills. So we talked about chores, right? So somebody could be incredibly good at mowing the lawn. Someone could be good at, as Tricia said, cleaning up very quickly. So think about hard skills and soft skills. Hard skills might be organizing, might be putting things away in storage, in sort of labeling by color, by number, by name. The range of skills is quite wide. Are there any skills that are coming to mind for you and your daughter? Is it your son? Are there chores at home that?
I took classes for about 9 years.
I will say, as a mom, I'm not a mom, as a parent, one of the biggest indicators of success for your children in employment is the expectations you put on your child. I'm sorry to say that. I put expectations on my children, and maybe I should have put more expectations on my children. And we can always go through that game of did I put enough on it? But that is always the biggest indicators, those expectations at home, at school, and moving forward. And so if your child has maybe not as many chores that they've worked on or different things, introduce them to more. Introduce them to more. Because you don't know the skills until you've tried them, right? And you have to try some things like, nope. You have to try some, no. And then you start seeing, wait a minute. There was a glimmer of something that made sense. A smile came on, or they paid more attention to that particular task, or they spent a little bit more time doing that. And then you can build on it. Small steps, but you can build on it. There was a question in the back here.
One comment. I think sometimes when you're starting out or you're young, you don't even know that you have a skill.
Yeah.
But maybe another way to think about it is how what you feel you can do easily and your friends ask you for help. Oh, I'll help you with that.
Yeah.
Things that you feel confident you know how to do.
Yeah.
That might be another way of
Yeah.
thinking about it.
That's a really good way of doing it because, we often experience work and don't feel confident, right?
Right, and if it's easy for us, we don't know that it's a skill, right? Because other people might not have it.
Yeah.
So I think it's hard to think of it when you're starting out.
Yeah, I think you're right. And again, back to that ohana, right? Your ohana may see things you don't. They may see, oh my gosh, they totally, in this environment, do those chores, right? Whereas at home, nah, I'm not gonna do it for mom. But over here, I do it, right? Because it's a different environment or different expectation or whatever it may be. That's okay. And invite people in to give you that information because, skills, sometimes that's really hard. Anybody have some condition? Oh, yeah, sure.
I have a daughter.
Yep.
Who's very friendly.
Yep.
She laughs a lot.
Yep.
And her uncle said, I would like Shelley to work in my office because she's so friendly. She lifts people up.
Yeah.
And Shelley will walk in and say, oh, and she'll give a back rub, or she's just that way. And I thought, oh, Ted, that's crazy. No one would hire Shelley to be the office attitude adjuster.
Mm.
And then,
Look at that. You're putting words to it. I love it.
I know. And I'm sitting here thinking, maybe he had an idea there that I should listen to.
Right.
But I immediately thought, that's crazy.
Yeah.
But it is a skill that she has.
Well, and
She lifts people's attitudes.
right. It's definitely a gift and that's empathy, right?
Yeah.
Empathy is kind of one of the biggest skills required in work today, right? Given what we've been through, we've all been through this horrific thing, right? Empathy is huge, right? Now, I don't know many places that will hire a chief empathy officer, right? CEO, you can't say that again. But can you weave it into something where there are some other skills, some other obvious gives? Because someone will pay for that. Yeah. That's thinking outside the box, right? So it's not going on to Indeed and saying, where's the chief empathy officer? Because it don't exist. You've just customized something based on a skill, right? And a gift, a contribution, right?
Okay, so here's another
All right, keep going.
that happened in our life. So, but Shelley needs help to get employment. So I heard this guy, Patrick Gardside.
Whoever he is, right?
Work Now Hawaii. So I gave him a call.
Mhm.
And he said, oh, she's looking for a job. Great. That's what I do, he said. He said, what is Shelley good at? And I said, well, at home, she does the laundry.
Great.
And she can do shredding.
Great.
He said, oh, perfect. When can she start?
Wow, that escalated quickly.
He said, Friday? I said, oh, okay. And do you know, she has been doing the laundry and shredding for Work Now Hawaii on Friday afternoons for 4 hours. And she loves her job.
Great.
Yeah. But we're thinking of building
Yes.
from there. It was like perfect. You know, this random phone call, and then it goes, when can she start? And I told my husband, I said, you're never gonna believe this guy. You know, I don't know where he's coming from, but he hired Shelley from a phone call.
There you go. But again, think about it. So it was Patrick, and that was magical.
It was
But it was increasing the network of people around Shelley
Yes.
who knew about her gifts, who knew about her contributions, that then invited something to happen, right? That's what this is about.
Can I explain my job experience?
Of course.
My name is Kylie. I worked at James Campbell High School. My mom used to work. I worked Monday to Friday, 5 days a week at the school. One tough job at the school is I gotta walk all the way to different buildings, pick up the bunch of rubbish. Oh, it was like a brick.
Yeah.
It's like a brick in a stone, like you're throwing the bricks in a pond.
But you do it, right?
Yeah, it is. Kids a mess. I know they are. They're like pigs in a barn. It's like someone's jumping in the mud.
There you go. Pigs in the barn. I love it. Are you happy?
A lot of work, tiring. And I volunteer at the Meeting Council office.
Okay. That's great. What do you do then?
I do the errands for them, and I do testimonies at State Capitol, all the bills that we work with.
Truly an advocate. I love it.
And I'm a PNC trainer for emergency preparedness.
Wow. Congratulations.
You just know a few things.
And I get paid too, $75 an hour for PNC.
That's awesome.
We could take a 5-minute break.
Yes, let's take a quick break. We've not done that.
We promised you 2 breaks.
Yes.
So let's give you, is 5 minutes okay?
Come back in 10:47, so. 5 minutes too? Is that enough?
10 minutes? Yeah, 10 minutes. So how about we come back at 10:55? Is that okay? Go get some fresh air.